Net Daily, and we're joined today with the commuted January 6th prisoner Zachary Rehl. Zach's trial alongside his co-defendants, the 5 Proud Boys. I attended their trial. I saw firsthand the prosecutorial misconduct, the nefarious ways Judge Timothy Kelly was moving in that room, where the jury was tainted from the start with far left-wing, radical left-wing activists, Black Lives Matter leaders, Women's March protesters. People all worked from the government on their jury. It was a litmus test they had to pass to sit on that jury, and that litmus test was obviously be an ardent Democrat Joe Biden supporter. In fact, D.C. is 93% voted for Kamala Harris, 91 or 92% voted for Joe Biden, and it's a miracle that Zach and his co-defendants are free men today, free people again today after what you went through. Zach, I know you're a lawyer. You're fighting still. You're a lawyer. You're now represented by Roger Roots. Filed a motion to dismiss. There's a lot of controversy. A lot of us don't understand why your sentences were commuted instead of receiving pardons like the rest of the J6ers. Truly, you went into the building for a few minutes. You committed no violent crimes. The government tried to make up some fake violent crime that you did, but it's all nonsense. You didn't put your hands on anybody. You watched people get shot in the face, tear gas, flash grenades are flying indiscriminately through the crowd, all by the hands of police that killed people that day. How's the fight going, Zach? How are you? How does it feel to be free after everything that you've gone through?
Well, yeah, the fight still is going. Unfortunately, I was kind of hoping to be working on putting my life together at this point, but I'm still fighting. Unfortunately, I don't know why President Trump didn't give us the pardon. I really have no idea. You know, he was an advocate for us for quite a while, all the way up through our trial and after we were sentenced and everything. And you know, he was one of the first people to say publicly that we didn't get a fair trial. And you know, we were the one case that he commented on a lot, and the media was constantly asking him questions about us. And like I said, he always went to bat for us. So when Inauguration Day came along, like I thought it was certain we were going to get a pardon. And it seemed like anybody who was convicted of seditious conspiracy wasn't. We were just commuted. We weren't pardoned. And you know, I'm really grateful to be out. Honestly, freedom's great. I'd much rather be fighting out here than fighting in prison. But it's really screwed us over that we didn't get the pardon, because, you know, as you know, I've spoken with you before, and you know, I was receiving military benefits, my military service. Joe Biggs was too as well, and because we're convicted of seditious conspiracy, we don't get any of that. We don't get that back. All the other people who were convicted of various other crimes from January 6th, the moment they got out, they get their benefits back. We don't get anything back. So basically, I'm just living off the goodwill of other Americans, and you know, that's it. Like I have no income, I have no way to get a job. Like I live in Philadelphia, which is a liberal cesspool of libtards and you know, Trump haters. You know, Philadelphia voted 75% for Kamala Harris. I think maybe 80% for Joe Biden. You know, even if I got a job somewhere, I'd be fired within a week. Even if I worked or found some, you know, some conservative business somewhere in the middle of the city somewhere, it would only be a matter of time before Antifa or the radical lefty, quote, activists, you know, harassed the business owners so much to the point to where they would have no choice but to fire me or let me go. I mean, prior to my arrest, just being part of the Proud Boys, I actually went to a bar with some of my friends, my other Proud Boy associates and everything, and there happened to be some Antifa connected woman who was there, and she acted like she was all our friend and everything, and she's friendly, just acted like, oh, why do you guys like Trump and blah blah blah, and you know, we entertained her and we told her you know, our side of the story, but she ended up getting on the internet the next day and was like, I was in the bar with these Nazis and blah 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 blah, and we were like, oh, give me a break. Like, she wasn't saying any of that crap to our faces when we were there, you know. But within a couple days, the radical lefties in Philadelphia smashed all the windows out from this bar because the bar owner hosted us, and it literally caused tens of thousands of dollars of damages. And that's the kind of crap we have to deal with in Philadelphia.
No, I understand,
like,
Zach.
like,
I
oh,
mean,
just go.
look, when I would attend your trial or attend the trial of other J6ers, there's a concerted effort to cast spells on you guys. You think I'm joking? You see, and we don't like to mention their names. We don't like to give them attention because it almost empowers them and they go gloat about it. But they would write your names. Like when you were sentenced, they wrote your names in these hexagrams and satanic symbols. And then there's the sedition hunters, the concerted effort to dox you all and intimidate your families. I'm so grateful to see you. We've done these video interviews where you're struggling to talk from the DC gulag for 10 minutes and you're frankly risking it all get even more terror enhancements for speaking out about what's happening while you're locked up. And it's been an angst environment for 4 years and now you're free. A sight for sore eyes, but the fight still goes on. Like the evil leftist force just has to keep going and going and going. They're not leaving you alone now that you're back home with your family. I understand you have death threats that you've been dealing with.
Oh yeah. And anytime my name gets into the into the public sphere, like when I first got out, I did a interview at ABC, and it was posted on Facebook and some other social media sites, and there was tons of lefties, Antifa people, basically just dropping my address and saying, "Oh, somebody needs to kill this guy," and blah blah blah. And I found other death threats on other social media pages too, where they just like dropping my address and saying, "So somebody needs to kill this guy. He needs to die. This piece of crap needs to be removed from this planet." Things like that, and it's just completely unnecessary. I mean, like you would have thought I shot a CEO of a healthcare company or something. Like no, I went to the Capitol that day. I walked around the building.
No, that guy they love.
20 minutes, and I went home.
That guy they're all programmed to love for some bizarre reason. An actual murderer they praise, but you stand for America or Trump or men being men or. Then they ain't what you did. We're gonna look at some of those.
It's crazy.
It is, but I don't know whether to talk about what you went through while incarcerated and what your goals are moving forward, or what's happening so far. Let's start with the developments in this week in your motion to dismiss the cases. And Zach, why don't you walk us through again the difference between being commuted and pardoned and the case being dismissed versus appeal, and what that all means to you and your prospects going forward, especially with your military benefits. Perhaps your military benefits were revoked. The U.S. Treasury Department wanted you to pay back like approximately $100,000 of all the benefits you received leading up to January 6th. I mean, it's crazy the cost to defend your own life, freedom, and family in this country over the past 4 years. I mean, if it weren't for the American people's support, I don't know, it would be even more dire with like no representation in these cases, or everybody being pro bono, not knowing what the hell to do with these unprecedented bogus charges. So talk about what happened with the filings in your case this week.
Yeah. So because I was only commuted, the difference between the pardon and the commuted sentences, the pardon forgives your conviction, and a commuted sentence just ends your sentence. So you have one guy who's sentenced to 10 years, another guy sentenced to 10 years, one guy was pardoned. His conviction pretty much, he can go get guns again, he can get his benefits back, he can go get professional licenses again. Me, on the other hand, I was actually sentenced to 15 years, but I was just using 10 as an example. I was commuted, so my sentence ended, which is great. But I had 7 professional licenses that I can't use because I have felonies on my record right now. I was in the finance industry, so I can't even use those. My military benefits gone. I can't get them back because of the seditious conspiracy conviction, which still stands because I'm still convicted of it. It's not forgiven. And, since I've been out for about 2 months. People are going, "Well, what have you been doing?" Well, I've I've tried to get work, but I can't. Nobody would even call me back, and my name's very notorious out here. So I've been spending a lot of my time putting together a plan to fight this conviction. I don't think we were able to fight for a appeal for 2 years or something like that. So I figured the next best option would be to get a dismissal together, and it was really hard to get a lawyer to do it because most of these lawyers, they're all buddy with each other, and they don't want to throw each other under the bus because they're all registered bar associates essentially. So you throw around the term prosecutorial misconduct, and these frat brothers here, they don't want to accuse each other of breaking the law, even if that's what they were doing.
Let's talk about.
Finally.
I didn't read through the motion in great detail yet, but I've been informed by your legal team that you could see in the motion instances of where the FBI insisted that some of the evidence in your case be taken out, or reviewed your emails on Coral Links with your attorney and strategized their legal filings based on reviewing like your private calls with your lawyer. Can you talk about any of that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our case was a blatant civil rights violation. Everything about our case was just violating our civil rights. And, they laughed and joked about spying on my attorney-client privileged emails, and they actually strategized like a plan going forward for how they would continue the prosecution based on conversations I have with my lawyer. I mean, like you can't make up this blatant disrespect of the law that they did on our trial, and they're so open about it. They admitted to all of it. And then there's the CHSs, for example, that were involved. There was 24 CHSs that they knew about prior to the trial. They hoped we didn't find it. But I spent all my time during trial. When I first got to trial, that's when I first started being able to look at the discovery against me and the evidence against me, which there's no evidence against me, but it's still called evidence. So I'm going through text messages, and I end up finding a text message conversation with a CHS that I heard that like he actually admitted to being a CHS right before January 6th, and so a lot of us knew about him, and he admitted in the text message conversation to me that he knew of 24 other ones in the Proud Boy organization, and the prosecution never told us about it. I find this text message string in the middle of trial. So then they end up turning over 24 names of confidential human sources in the Proud Boy organization, and they went through hell to stonewall every opportunity for us to contact these CHSs. And, not one of these CHSs had any allegations of any type of plan or anything to attack the Capitol that day. Not one. And they were all exculpatory to us. Every single one of those CHSs would have helped us win our case.
Well, also the government created the 1776 returns document with two of their CHSs to act like there was some sort of plan. And really, what plan was there? Again, when you want to know what they're guilty of, look at what they're accusing you of, because what more is a seditious conspiracy than to entrap you with seditious conspiracy? Literally, government plants in your organization, and they're conspiring against you. And then when you look at the more CHSs throughout the whole thing, if you have someone like Rehl saying, I need y'all to go to the Capitol, and he's saying it the night before, all of a sudden, there's this conspired effort by the government with people like the CHSs there to get people to go to this one point where they cross that imaginary line, and there's a 1512 waiting for them. Some charge we never heard of, and 12 felonies, 14 felonies for stepping past there at the We the People's House. What do you think about all the CHSs around the whole situation?
I mean, the CHSs that were there that day that's a whole nother batch of undercover law enforcement people. I think there was 26 on the ground that day. Some of them were Proud Boys, some of them weren't. But let's talk about the 1776 document real quick. Yeah, the 1776 document, it was found that it was created by a government asset or somebody within the government, and that person convinced somebody to send it to Enrique, who Enrique apparently never even opened it. But when I finally first saw it at the first time at trial, the 1776 returns document doesn't even talk about going to the Capitol. Like, I don't know if you've ever read it, but it doesn't even talk about going to the Capitol. It was talking about doing a peaceful sit-in in some of the offices around the area. Something that the left does literally every single day in D.C. You know, and it's not a crime. And it's not a crime. Even our Judge Kelly, prior to trial, before he knew about the 1776 document, he goes, it's not like everybody on January 6th went in and had plans to do a peaceful sit-in the Capitol. They went in there and they did this and that. And it was all of a sudden the 1776 document comes out and they're demonizing it. And I'm like, oh, look, the 1776 document talks about doing a peaceful sit-in, something that the judge prior to trial said was okay. Like, but still, seditious conspiracy.
The whole thing was just mind-boggling. That's why I went to the extent to go travel down there to your trial and sit in that hellhole, freezing courtroom all day. And I only could imagine what was behind the walls over there, where it's like complete lockup. You could see that wait for a minute or two when you guys are coming out, how horrible it looks to be locked in those cages, coming out starving and sleep deprived, knowing you got transferred, learning about diesel therapy and the box cuffs, the 17 months in solitary confinement you spent at the Alexandria detention facility, and how you managed to be in that horrible. I felt like it was like being buried alive, the way it was you guys described it, like stuck in that little 6x8 cell all day long, out of the room for like 15 minutes to make a phone call and use a microwave and take a shower. And then I don't know if you had to wear the same mask like Joe Biggs did, the same mask every day in solitary confinement, filthy. Talk about
it. Yeah. I mean, like there was some hell in the incarceration, and the moving around, diesel therapy, everything was ridiculous. You know, being in solitary confinement was another thing. But when I was in the BOP, which was like FDC Philly, I was in FDC Philly 2 different occasions, and then in Petersburg, they had us listed as domestic terrorists in their system. So we were just right off the bat, the moment we were put in the system, put in that jail, just treated like dog shit, basically. And excuse my language, but that's the truth. Well, like we had COs who would come in and they'd look at the roster to see who's on the block. And mine would have like a red flag next to it, basically saying that I'm a domestic terrorist, and you know, that kind of stuff. We would just get treated like crap right off the bat for it. You know, we'd be targeted by the COs. They'd shake our cells down, steal our belongings. You know, just tear our room apart randomly for no reason. You know, like we got treated worse than child molesters in the BOP. It was an absolute disgrace. Like, you know, another thing is like with our emails, like. Our emails had to go through so many layers of authority in the DOJ. It would take sometimes 4 days for me to receive an email back from somebody. I mean, you know how that was. All the other inmates, you know, they get their emails back and forth instantly. You know, I'd say, hey, how are you doing? You wouldn't get my email for 3 days. Then you'd respond back to me. I wouldn't get it for another 4 or 5 days after that. So it would take a week just for me to find out how you're doing. You know,
on the outside, people who know your supporters, your fans and family, we'd be like tense, like, where are you guys? Like, are they gonna kill him? It's like a kidnapping. It was like a hostage situation. Right. I'm so grateful President Trump did the right thing on this issue the first few minutes of being in office again. It really is something that some of us worked every day to see, because perhaps if we didn't highlight what was going on there, the mainstream media sure wasn't going to do it, along with most of the conservative media. They really weren't. They didn't attend your trials. You saw like a media blackout until you got sentenced, until it's some crazy day in the courtroom. Every other day, the galleries in that courthouse are primarily empty, besides special 4 reporters from state-run media who like wrote a book called Sedition Hunters, who like works for the FBI, except the state-run media itself. Like, it seemed like no one cared, Zach, and that's not the case.
No, this is the problem with that was, and it probably goes with why the federal government doesn't allow cameras in the courtroom, is because the federal government's just a sham. Like everything about the justice system at the DOJ, it's a big joke. Like all they do is commit misconduct. They overcharge people. They put on bogus charges on people. And they break the law constantly to win convictions. And there's nobody overseeing what they're doing at all. And this is just another example of it. So yeah, they did black us out. They blacked us out whenever we had our arguments. They blacked us out whenever there was something sketchy for we were proving against the government. But let me tell you, when the government had one of their key witnesses up there, oh yeah, they were up there every day. And it wasn't even a witness. Like the guy that their key witness was some scumbag who basically got kicked out of the military. Couldn't keep a job. He was a previous felon. He was actually the only one technical co-defendant of ours that committed any crime at all, but he wasn't in D.C. He was a felon in possession of firearms, and he was at home on January 6th. But when they raided his house, they find firearms in his house. They blackmailed the guy.
Jeremy Bertino?
You're going to test him. Yeah.
Who perjured himself on the stand, who called himself Noble Beard, and had a weird obsession with Noble Lead.
Yeah. With Enrique, yep. So this guy, they blackmail this guy and tell him, you're going to plead guilty to seditious conspiracy, and we won't make you go to jail, basically. He pleads guilty to seditious conspiracy, the only one who committed a crime out of any of us, and he's testifying against us, and he's telling us what our intentions were on January 6th when he wasn't even there. How is the key witness telling the jury what our intentions were when he wasn't there? So, the whole case was a sham. It was a show trial. It was a kangaroo court show trial.
But then when you got found guilty of 15 years, Enrique 22 years, Nordine 18 years, Big 17 years, Pizzola 10 years, is not a joke. Like, it's the most ridiculous show trial, third world country, idiocracy going on in that courtroom, complete obvious corruption, all of it. I mean, your lawyers filed so many motions to relocate, just all dismissed. Any kind of the defense was constantly shut down, and the prosecution was constantly green lighted for whatever it wants, even if it makes no sense and is completely backwards. But Zach, there's a lot to unpack over what happened over the past 4 years, whether it's in the prisons, in court, the setup during, the setup before, after. But I want to highlight some of the things the FBI did on your case that was completely egregious. Like, I know your wife, they tried to surveil her car. Talk about the bizarre things that the crooked FBI agents did in your case.
Well, yeah, they're trying to destroy my family, and they were doing it by numerous ways. They wanted to break me financially. That's one of the reasons why they took my VA benefits from me, which they took before I was convicted. And they actually took the benefits before I was even charged with seditious conspiracy. So that was illegal, and I can't wait to look into that further. But they were trying to get my house foreclosed. They wanted my they would harass my banks, harass my insurance companies, harass any company that did business with me, so that they'd shut their accounts down with me, and they did. A lot of banks closed the accounts on me. Insurance companies closed. Stopped doing business with me, and yeah, they were bragging in private messages, hoping that my wife was going to be cheating on me, because they're tracking a friend's car. And long story short, she wasn't cheating on me, but they were hoping for it, and they were hoping that my house. They were actually joking, hoping my house would foreclose when they were sending letters to the bank to try and shut my mortgage down. So, like, they were literally actively trying to destroy family, and it's just disgusting. It's just this should happen to nobody, honestly.
Did you discover this in their emails? Can you document any of this, what they were doing to play these mind games?
Oh yeah, I have all the records. We received the private conversations when one of the agent Nicole Miller is her name, she went up on the stand, and we got access to a lot of the they call it Jenks material, basically all the confidential material that the FBI has on defendants, and you get it usually a few days before that person goes up on the stand. And we got all these private text conversations between her and other FBI agents, and it was a big joke to them. It wasn't about trying to prove whether I was innocent or guilty. It was, let's destroy his family and destroy his life, and take everything from him and hope he breaks. That's what it was all
I mean,
about.
at the
Like, it
end
was
of
all
the
about just
day, that's
destroying my
just
life.
because that's the mentality that these people who are leftists or whatever, that's what they have deep underneath, is just pure hatred for their political opposition. They all come from far left academia, like this Marxist view of the world, to literally want to burn your house down. All the violence we've seen of the left over the last 4 years, for years, and then they're in power, and it's not about the law, it's about like an actual will to like break your spirit. But why do you think that you've been targeted in this way, or the Proud Boys have been targeted this way? What do you think is the agenda here, or what kind of precedent are they trying to set with doing all of this, the terror enhancements, the 10, 15, 20 years, like for nothing, for walking around, for protesting? What's it all about?
Well, if you know history, you understand why all this happens. And historically, this is what the communists always have done. They basically expand their government reach and expand government power, and they use that power to silence their opposition. Like, the Soviet Union did it, Stalin way back. Like, even way back in the Roman times, they did it. They they give themselves so much power, and they just attack their opposition. And in our case, we had a populist, aka Donald Trump, who became powerful, and they wanted to silence him, and they tried to demonize the term populist, really, but that's just short for popular government from the Roman times. And back in the Roman times, there was two parties. One of the parties was the Popular Party, and the Popular Party was like the party of the people, and the small folks and everything like that. So Donald Trump represents a lot of the small folks, which makes up the vast majority of America, and it terrifies them to the core that there's a new populist in town, and he's going to take up all the votes, and he's going to keep them out of power. And these are elitists. The Democrats, they're typically elitists. They're out of touch with reality. I mean, just look at how Kamala Harris would be when she would talk to some regular person. She'd be like a robot. And it was just like, have you ever talked to another human before? And it's just like, no, they talk to each other, but they don't talk to common people. They don't know anything about common people. They don't know our interests or anything. So what they didn't want me, they wanted Trump. And I was an influence to open the eyes of a lot of people, and they wanted me silenced for that reason. So the main thing is they wanted Trump, but we were speaking out for him, and we were influential figures. And that's why they went after us so hard. Proud Boys are very influential, especially in 2020. Probably a little more so now, but maybe not as much as we were in 2020. But that's what it comes down to. And how do you win elections? According to communists, you shut down your competition, and you shut them down by arresting them and throwing them in jail.
If you could do things to make sure what happened to you never happens again, what would that look like?
I mean, how do I do that?
What are some things that can be done to prevent this, to remedy this situation in general?
Honestly, we really just need to shrink the size of government. We really need to go in. Hopefully, the FBI really needs to get table flipped, and the DOJ really needs a table flip too. But I mean, another thing is, there's a saying that my mom always told me growing up is money talks and BS walks. You hit them in the pocket. I think every single J6er should sue the hell out of every single government agency possible to make it so expensive and so, regretful that they did it, that they never want to do this again. You're like, hey, if you do this, we will come after you very hard. We will sue every single agency we can. We will sue every single media company we can. We will come after every single person that did us wrong, and we will sue you for hundreds of millions and maybe billions of dollars, and just hurt them so bad that they don't ever want to break the law again. I mean, they obviously have no feelings. They don't care about ruining people's lives, but it'll hurt them in the pocket. If you're taking money from them, all of a sudden people start being a little more honest. Unfortunately, that's the way to do things in America.
That's what they're doing to the right, though. They're suing in oblivion, $1 billion here for saying the wrong thing about climate change. They managed to win their lawsuits. Yeah. And we managed to lose all the lawsuits. That's where there's this corrupt little circle of the judges somewhere, some crooked dealings with these judges. I think we heard Elon Musk address the judges' problems, calling for some of their impeachments. think that would be a good place for Congress to look. It was always remarkable to me, Zach, that across the street from the Capitol building is the Barry E. Prettyman Federal Courthouse, where all the J6ers and President Trump is tried. And you can just look across the window and see lame duck Congress not doing anything, not even attending your trial, and just going to showboat like they actually care. What's your take on Congress's handling of the whole J6 situation? Do you anticipate there being a real J6 investigation now?
Well, to start back from your first topic, it's about how they sue us and everything. And yeah, they did sue us a lot, and it's also why conservatives are typically quiet. Just throw that out there. We don't break the law. We don't ever, we're called the silent majority. We're afraid to speak out half the time because we're afraid we're going to get attacked or sued by the left. So maybe we need to give them a little taste of their own medicine when it comes to the legal system. And I mean that by suing them. I don't mean throwing them in jail. I don't think anybody should weaponize the justice system. But as far as Congress taking up the case and all this, we'll see what happens, because they half-step so many things. They'll sit here and tell us one day that they're going to do a full investigation on J6, and next thing you know, they're like, well, we're only going to investigate this or that. And then, now I'm hearing recently that they're only looking into the pipe bomb thing. And it's just like, nobody cares about the pipe bomb thing to an extent. Like, how about all the people that had their lives ruined? Like, you just want to focus on who the pipe bomb guy is? I mean, I get it is important, especially if the pipe bomb guy is like an FBI agent, posing as a I don't know, a terrorist or something. Great, cool. Rein them in. But 1,600 lives were ruined because, Nancy Pelosi withheld, 44,000 hours of video. I was denied due process because a bunch of judges decided that, I didn't deserve to have rights as an American citizen. So, I don't care about the pipe bomb guy. You know what I mean? I want to look into the things that matter, and the things that matter, the 16,000 lives that were ruined over January 6th. So I think we need to look into Liz Cheney. We need to look into Nancy Pelosi. We need to start interviewing Capitol police officers and find out who gave the order to push the crowd back, who gave the order to start assaulting protesters. That's the stuff that we need to be looking into. Anything else is a waste of time, and that's just how I feel about it.
They didn't even issue a dispersal order before they started shooting people in the face, tear gassing everybody, and the flashbang grenades. Like, it was like a little war there, a terror attack, orchestrated and carried out by the government. That's what it looked like once I went through the footage, the inverse and opposite of what the mainstream media was saying. Zach, what are you working on next? Tell us how we can support your efforts.
Anybody wants to help out and help me continue this fight, it's go to defendzach.com. Like I said, I'm working on a lot of legal routes right now to try and keep fighting this. And it's not just me I'm trying to fight for everybody. As you heard, I don't care about the pipe bomb guy, and I care about the 1,600 lives that were ruined. I want to raise awareness to this stuff. I want to start shedding some light onto this. I'm trying to do everything I can to reach out to Congress and work with Congress people to hopefully shed light in the right direction and not on worthless dead ends. So I still have my own issues right now. Like I said, it's been rough. I have a family, and I'm doing everything I can to make ends meet. But I got these lawyers I'm paying for and everything, and it's not easy. So anything anybody can do that can help, it would be appreciated. But other than that, I'm gonna keep fighting, and I'm glad I'm out here fighting. At least I can do these interviews and talk to you, So I'm gonna survive also, one way or the other, and
I want to hear it.
I'm gonna survive one way or the other, but I'm gonna do it standing on my feet, though. That's all.
Well, you're one of the most resilient. You J6ers, and you, Zach, you've been extremely resilient. Where is it you draw strength to be so optimistic in the eye of the storm? I mean, on the hell on earth where you were forced locked at for so many years. What's some words of inspiration you could leave us with? Because, there's more people that are still stuck in that broken prison system unjustly. And there's a lot of Americans in hard times. I mean, the price of food even is overwhelming for most people. Everything's very, we've been at war. This invisible sort of thought war for years now, COVID, you name it. So talk about what gives you your strong sense of faith through all of this and inspiration.
Yeah, well, yeah, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. It's very very dark, being in prison and everything, and some of the things that we're all dealing with in general. But you have to find inner positivity. It's a contagious thing. When you exert positive energy, you receive positive energy, and good things always happen. And that's just how I try to live my life. It's hard. Some of my hardest days in prison, I would just take a walk and just think about things until I didn't have anything else to think about anymore. I'd put on some music to change my mood a little bit, and I'd force myself to be positive. If you force yourself to be positive, good things always come. And if nothing seems like it's going to happen, it's got to have some faith. You bring God into the situation. Maybe God will. If you talk it into existence, stay positive, keep fighting. Eventually, you'll win.
It's true. I mean,
3 years and 10 months in prison. It's 3 years and 10 months I spent in prison, and we lost. We took L after L after L after L after L. And I used to joke with people, I used to say, fighting the federal government is like trying to break through a steel wall with a wooden baseball bat. But any wall can be broken with persistence, and we did. We broke through that wall, and I'm here right now.
You're living proof.
Not all the way through it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not all the way through it, but I'm pretty much close through it. Still got a few things left to fight, and I'm going to do it. I will. You'll see. I can guarantee it. I'm talking into an existence right now. So
it certainly is a spiritual battle or spiritual warfare.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you, Zach. God bless.
All right. Thank you. God bless.